This is Video for Magazines, and this time we're going to be ruthlessly efficient. I'm Faye Carruthers, and this is the show looking to arm magazine pros with all the knowledge they need to make effective video for their titles. I'm joined by Simon Elliott from Crowdfinder. Hi again, with your weird little wave.
Cheers.
So ruthlessly efficient. What exactly do you mean from that? What's everyone going to be getting out of this show?
So it's about production efficiency. Production efficiency are two absolutely key words for people making digital video, because if you're going to move the dial on your socials or on your other plans for what you want from video, one video ain't going to do it. It's, you need to make plenty of it. You need to be thinking about at least one or two decent length videos every month, probably more, but that's where you should start. And then socials cut from that, going out every week, so that you've got a consistent video offer. And so that doesn't break the bank, you need to be really efficient about how you make video. I think a good example is actually what we're doing today. We are shooting 5 or 6 episodes in one day, in one morning. We've got the studio for the day. There's a cost in that. But if I was shooting just an individual episode each time, it'd be 5 or 6 times the cost. You've come in for the morning. So, I'm getting you for half a day or a day, and that's going to work for me in terms of production efficiency. All of those things are production efficiencies, and they all matter when it comes to sort of saving cost. One of the other things that people will be getting, a lot of this will be helping people who are in housing video, how to think about it, how to approach it, what they need in place to be efficient in their production. But also something else that we'll talk about is how actually the most effective kind of video is timeless video. So no date references. People will notice we're not talking about, even in this show, we're not talking about today, this week's show, that kind of thing. We're talking about this episode. So therefore it's timeless. So that is something that actually making timeless video, like I say, it's the most efficient video of all.
Okay, let's start with the cost, because that is important. Mates rates, by the way. Can you break down the costs for us?
So people will disagree with this. I'm sure I'm going to put these videos on LinkedIn, and I'm sure there'll be comments underneath saying, no, it's this, no, it's that. This is a decent guide. So you are looking at 400 or 500 quid a day for a camera. You are looking anywhere between 250 and £1,000 for a presenter. You're looking at 250 to 500 for a producer, so someone like me. And you will need 2 days of a producer because someone's got to plan what you're going to shoot. And you are also looking at 50 quid a day per person minimum travel and expenses, probably a bit more than that, but let's say 50 quid. So you're essentially looking to get all the people in the right place at the right time and press record. You're looking at around 1,500 quid, and that's before you've actually taken away. There are other costs to add, but that's your production costs. You've got post-production costs as well, but we'll talk about those in a bit.
Obviously, there's a lot of value to then come out of it as well. One of the things that you talk about in terms of efficiency is getting more than one video out of a shoot, but how do you even go about doing that?
What you need to think about is you need to go to an environment where there are lots of people that your viewers and readers will be interested in. So one of the tricks I used to use a lot when I was making a show called the Military Tech Show, I would go to defence expos, and what that would give me was lots of people in one place that I could interview about certain issues, sometimes about new technology, but also about issues. And the trick with that is if you go to an environment like that, you just need to make sure you haven't got people milling about in the background, stands. Just find a quiet little corner. I think you've got to think about it. I don't know, if you're running a Scottish farming magazine, you don't go, if you've got one day to invest in shooting, don't go and shoot at a remote, farm in, I don't know, Inverness. Go and shoot at a show in Aberdeen and interview lots of people there. That's the way to do it. That's the way, because most magazines, the most cost-efficient kind of video to make is interview-led content, and therefore you want to go somewhere where you can knock off lots of interviews. That's that kind of place.
I mean, you talk about specific events, for example. Does that make the timeless thing that you're thinking about harder, or you just have to think about it in a different way, like you say, filming away from crowds, etc.?
That's exactly it. You film in such a way, and that's one of the things that a good producer should do for you, is you essentially say, I want timeless video. I don't want it to be obvious it was at a show. So a producer will talk to whoever's running the show and say, right, I want somewhere where I can do some interviews that's relatively quiet, out of the way, and I can just come and pull people in and we could knock off interviews. And it might be, if your title has got a stand at that show, it might be in the back of that stand. You might have sound issues, but that's something to think about. But it is one of the things you've got to do when you're making video, and this is especially a lesson, videographers who you're commissioning in will know this, but for in-house people, it's really important that you kind of get control of your filming environment. We're lucky today, we're filming in a nice, quiet studio. We've got control of the environment. That's the point of it. In some external environments, you won't have that. And you've kind of, I used to be a fixer on the road for Sky News. And in order to get stuff like that, to get decent environments, well-filmed interviews, I had to have sharp elbows. You've done plenty of stuff, international sport. You've done loads with England. I'm sure your elbows are plenty sharp when they need to be, so that you can have control and get the interview you want. And that's something that I think people who are in housing, who are hiring in, either way, you've just got to say to people, I want this timeless. I don't want people in the background. I don't want people milling about. I don't want the sound really echoey. What I need is controlled video. And that's just, one way to do it.
There will be people who are thinking, how do I cut costs? What can I do? Would a 2-person crew cut down costs? Would you cut out the producer?
Well, I wouldn't, because I'm a producer. But I think one of the things you've got to realise is, if you are taking a crew to an event to film, and you've got, say, someone like you doing the interviews and a cameraman, you're paying for that, and what you want is them filming. So if someone's filming an interview, they can't be lining up the next interview. They can't be sort of seeing that there's a guy pushing a trolley towards where you're doing an interview, and trust me, that's happened. And so to get control of the environment, and so that your expensive assets, which are your presenter and your camera, are sweated as much as possible and you get as much value out of them as possible. No, I wouldn't take the producer out of the mix, because that is the person that will drive your content. And also, honestly, it's quite often the person with the best view of quite how content will fit. If you've, say, bought a producer in-house to make your video, send them, because they will know exactly what the output looks like, or if you hire in a producer, make sure they get a really good brief. That's really important. So I wouldn't cut that corner.
It's another set of eyes, isn't it? Without a doubt. And also another overview that will be different to everybody else. Anything else on those kind of out and about shoots that can be quite tricky?
So quite often, people who are making video, then this will apply especially if you commission people in, they will be old school TV people, and they will do old school TV kind of content. So you will get people who will look down the barrel and say, I'm Simon Elliott and I'm here at, Farming in Scotland exhibition, and I'm talking to Joe Farmer. And everything about that is wrong for digital video. Take your presenter out of that, because what they're doing there is they're giving context. And actually with digital video, your context comes from the headline, the thumbnail. The viewer already knows. So I would always take the presenter or reporter, and I'm sorry to say this to a presenter and reporter for digital video, I would always take them out and just have the interviewee either straight down the barrel or talking to the presenter just off camera, because that's going to be best for the viewer. They've already got the context. They don't need that. Just get to it. We talked about hooks and pace. That's how you're going to make that work within those interview style videos, is by getting straight to it.
So I'm basically not here, and everything that I'm doing down the barrel right now is being taken out. This has been all about filming so far, but there must be other efficiencies as well that you can make.
There's a couple of different kinds. There's some in pre-production and some in post-production. Pre-production is everything you do before everyone gets there to film. And one of the things you can do, I would say to publishers who are in housing, look around the room you're in at the moment. There will be someone there who does 50 things that no one ever notices, that without them the business would fall apart. That's the person you should look at, because they will be super efficient as potentially your kind of part-time production manager, and they will sort out where you're going to film, the travel. They'll nail down that the cameraman's getting paid and is definitely turning up. All the details that go into a shoot need sorting. It's not the creative stuff. The creative stuff in lots of ways is the easy part. The ideas and we could do this and we could do that is the easy part. But making video is an exercise in logistics. It's getting all the right people in the right place at the right time. you think about this morning with making this video. You and I had to get here. I was slightly late. Sorry about that. We've got Larry who's producing, and she had to be here, and we had to book the studio, and that took a bit of doing because I had another one cancelled. So I was doing the production manager part of it, trying to arrange everything to be all in the right place at the right time. And actually, we're now sort of, the scripts possibly aren't as creative and good as they could be, because I've had to do the pre-production stuff. So actually, if you've got someone who's super well organised and who can pick up that organisational part, that will be a massive efficiency. The best thing you can have in terms of production efficiency is the right people doing the right things. And if you expect one person to do it all, ultimately that'll kind of damage your video product. It will mean that it's either there's not as much of it as you want, or it's not quite as good as you want because they're doing 58 other things as well. It's why when video companies want to charge you a significant sum for making a video, they're right to do that. The way they operate, there's lots of people involved in making sure your video gets made, and you won't see them all on the shoot, but it's really important that those details are sorted out, because unlike writing a magazine article, you can write a magazine article, you can do a phone interview. I did it when I worked in magazines. You don't have to be in that place, and you can get sent a couple of photos and you're done. And that's the same for a magazine or digital, on a website, and even possibly for socials. But video doesn't work like that. Not if you want to do quality video. If you want to add quality professional video, there's a ton of logistics that go around it. And that is where you need to be efficient so that you can get everyone in the right place and your crew arrive at, what were we saying, Scottish farming show or whatever it is. Loads of energy, loads of, right, we're up for it, we can do all this. They haven't had to sort out 58 details, including their flights, and they get there and then they will knock off loads of video for you. And that's a brilliant production efficiency. But you just have to sort of think like that. Sorry, I've gone off on one there.
No. It makes perfect sense, and is also a little bit of a job ad for Crowdfinder. I think if there are any decent production assistants out there, it's not Simon's skill set necessarily.
I think that's fair.
That's all the production. What about post-production? What happens after filming?
One of the most important things you can do is manage your media properly. So you've gone off and you've filmed your 6 interviews in a day, which would be magnificent. Well done, you. You've gone and filmed that. But they're not named properly, and the bit of B-roll that a farmer's given you of his cows in his farm isn't in the right place and isn't named properly, then the editor you've hired in for the day, and you're spending anywhere between 300 and 500 quid a day for, is going to spend half their day trying to find the right video. And it's like, you don't want them doing that. They need to be editing, because actually if you have everything in the right place and you keep your edits simple, your editor might be able to knock out 2 or 3 videos in a day. If they spend half their day looking for media, they can't. It's as simple as that. You want them doing what they're skilled at, and your production manager might be able to help with that. But also, I would say, again, look around at the people you've got in-house. And quite often I found, when I was working in a place before that didn't have a proper archive, actually the IT guys were brilliant at it because they're super well organised and they like that kind of thing and they understand it. And you might well ask someone to run a kind of little media management for you, but media management is so important.
What about social media?
Your social media team need to be involved a relatively early phase, probably in pre-production, when you're sort of saying, oh, we want to go and do this, this and this. One, they can give you a bit of data and say, actually, you want to go and do that, that and that, because that's what people are interested in. But you just need it to be lined up. Your social media needs to be lined up with your production and what you're making, because it helps answer that question that we talked about before, which is what's it for? Who's it for? Where are that audience? So I think it's really important to be lined up with your social media team.
So any more on ruthless efficiency?
Talking about archiving, I've touched on it there. Archives can cost you anything from almost nothing to millions and millions of pounds. An archive doesn't have to be any more than a spreadsheet with accurate names and a decent bit of computer storage, a decent bit of memory. Here's some key words if you're going to have an archive. Fast memory. You need fast memory. Video takes up a lot of space and you don't want slow memory. So ask your IT team to get fast memory.